religiously like Watchmen. Like I can't remember where he said it. Like there's one interview where he says like superheroes are not mature enough because in my fantasy Batman would be raped in prison or something like that. I don't remember. So it's like that's the kind of stuff he likes, and it's like okay, weird. And I think it shows that it really does it shows itself in his movies to a degree. It's really weird.
Okay, let's get started here. It's 2:00. Thanks everyone for coming in. We're streaming live now. This is Smudboy and Smudstream, and I don't know what to call this gentleman. I don't think he wants to have a name. We'll call him the No Name.
You could call me No Name, or you could call me the shit. I forgot his name. Oh, the Planescape Torment guy. Fuck.
The Nameless One.
The Nameless One. Thank you. Holy shit! I love that game, but I can't remember his name.
So it's the Nameless One in the avatar of a cute blue-haired, chibi girl, much like one of the characters in the show we'll be talking about today, and we're specifically looking at Dorkly's why Evangelion's horrible ending is actually amazing. This is a YouTube that just came out last month, and just to be totally upfront, Evangelion is not the most easiest to understand anime out there because of the meta narrative, because of the actual narrative, because of budget cuts and rushing and the lack of planning and all this story behind it. There's all these stories behind what made Evangelion a success and a failure on several levels. So we're not going to talk too much about those things. We'll throw it in there to fill in the blanks for you guys. But we're mostly looking at the video that focuses on the last 2 episodes of these 26 episode series, which I believe debuted in the middle of the 90s or late 90s, 95, 96?
96. I think it's 96. Might be wrong.
Right. So during that time, I mean, in my case for Canada, we just got Sailor Moon in 93, I think, on the YTV, and it was all PG-13, was very friendly. Other shows that were for kids at the time were Power Rangers, and you had all sorts of North American stuff. So anime just hit North America that year, or rather in a bigger way that year. And there was, of course, Akira and Ghost in the Shell and other things that were coming out too. But this was the actual series that you could have watched. I'm trying to remember where you actually could have watched it in North America, aside from the movie theaters when they started releasing it. But yeah, it was a big deal, and there are reasons for that. But again, whole other story. We're going to focus on why we think this person's reaction to the ending of Evangelion is wrong. And that's fine. I mean, you can like it. There's nothing wrong with liking Hideki Anno's Public Couch Trip. I mean, that's your thing. Good on you. But we're going to try and do our best to hopefully bring some meaning to this fanboy's utterances. I don't want to bash the guy too much because we will get into it, but it's going to be pretty brutal. I'm just probably thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, the video's horrible, and yeah, it's bad. I don't have anything to say other than it's terrible. I hate that we're gonna have to watch it though. Oh god,
it's 10 minutes of fanboyism at its best, people. So sit back and enjoy the ride. And anytime we're gonna pause and say commentary. So if anyone has any questions, go right ahead. So here we go.
As a heads up, this episode will obviously be filled with spoilers for the decades-old Neon Genesis Evangelion, and for the sake of argument, I'm only going to be focusing on the original 26-episode run with some occasional references to the end of Evangelion film, and if you haven't seen all that, what are you doing here? Why are you watching this? For me? Well, that's very flattering, thank you. Neon Genesis Evangelion is a show with a legacy that's as complicated as its own lore. It's irrefutably one of the most important anime series of all time, if not one of the most important works of pop culture for an entire generation.
Is it? I mean, it is influential.
It's extremely influential, but it depends on who you ask. Like in the West, it's not that influential, but in Japan, it's like extremely important. So maybe.
Yeah, I would look to, in the West, probably Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon, absolutely.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop, Akira, Ghost in the Shell,
I mean, it was still pretty big. So
Yeah.
but
But it's also one of the most single, difficult to explain series in existence. Even if someone's seen the whole series, you may still risk giving them a migraine when explaining the convoluted layers of backstory. Your Adams and Liliths, the numerous shadow organizations with shadowy intentions, and all the various impacts. The show is a profoundly complex mix of Christian imagery, Jewish mysticism, post-war.
Oh God! Again, the Christian symbolism doesn't matter. Why do people care so much about that? It's like Anno even says that it's like just stylization. It's made to look flashy. It doesn't even matter.
Well, I think
there's no theme to it. It's just there to look cool.
Yeah, well, that's the visual aspect. I think he wanted to just poke fun at what robot anime or mecha has become in the past 20 years, since the 70s, really, and say, okay, I'm gonna not subvert them. I'm just gonna humanize them more. I'm trying to make it more believable. Now, the problem with that is if you start with a setting of post-apocalyptic beginnings of your story, it's like, okay, you're already in the trenches. You're already saying, okay, this is now a standard. But then he's trying to make it more modern. So he's saying, okay, as we all know, Japan was influenced by the attacks of World War II. They have this mentality of destruction and using technology to get out of it and to have a savior out of all that. So that's where mecha anime sort of originated. So he's sort of taking that idea and I guess modernizing it or making it more...
to a degree, like one of the main influences of Evangelion is that while in its creation, Anno and Gainax in general strongly believed in the 1999 Nostradamus doomsday, like to an insane degree. And it's like, in Evangelion, like in 2000, it's like there's the second impact that happens in the year 2000, and it's made to be like what would happen, what humanity needs to survive after the apocalypse. And Evangelion was supposed to be like a response to what would happen, as well as a definitive final mark of humanity before the apocalypse. That's why the movie ends in 1997. So like they basically made the series as the final send-off to humanity, and that's why it happens. The setting takes place in the post-apocalypse.
And we're talking about Judeo-Christian lore. They were referencing, or the show references, the Dead Sea Scrolls, which I think happened once or twice, and then just forgotten. It's just this thing.
Because it doesn't matter. It's like like the thing is that it doesn't really matter. It's like it's in a PlayStation 2 game, and it explains that it's like a future prediction of what events will happen, but it doesn't matter. So like all the lore itself doesn't matter, but people focus on it because they just want answers, and the show really does only hints at it. So
which you don't do in a well-structured story. You don't just throw stuff into the air and hope it sticks. You actually have a reason to use it.
Yeah, like there is a proper story to Evangelion of the lore. It's just not explained. It's just like background information that doesn't matter, because the focus is mostly on Shinji and defeating the angels and mecha fights, basically. So, but again, too many people just focus on the lore, because the lore is like, oh, we need to focus on explaining shit, and because we're obsessed about explaining everything.
Atomic paranoia, and your standard fare Japanese giant battling robot puberty allegory. It's a lot to pack into a meager 26 episodes, so I guess it's really not surprising that the show is one of the most maligned endings in TV history.
Okay, that's like, oh, there's all this stuff, and it's not surprising the ending sucks. It's like...
no. like again, I explained it to you before the stream, but what happened again is that Anno was basically creating these episodes. Well, he wasn't specifically creating, but he was also writing and directing most of the episodes on a episode by episode basis. So what happened is, again, once they were reaching the ending, they ran out of time, and Anno was just forced to write everything extremely fast. And I wouldn't say he botched it, but he had to rush a lot of the story elements, which is why, like, immediately after like Kaoru dies in the anime, they just like, okay, everything is disregarded, and they have to focus on the inner monologues of the characters, which again destroys the pace and is terrible.
It changes the entire narrative, really.
Yeah, it really does. And it's like there's a reason why it's bad. It's because it's I wouldn't call it bad. It's how can I say this? It's not dysfunctional.
The way I see it is that you go to a steakhouse. You've been going there for 24 months or whatever, and then the last 2 months they start serving you shit.
Yeah, it's a shock. I can't find a word for it. It's whatever. It doesn't matter. Point being that you're expecting an actual ending, and it flips it on itself, and it's like, no, you only get monologues for characters, and it feels weird. Like the problem is that he's trying to say, oh yeah, because there's a lot of lore shit, it's fine if the ending just randomly changes in the final 2 episodes. It's like, no, there's an actual reason outside of its production for why was that the case, but he's just brushing it aside to just say, no, it's fine because there's so much stuff in it that it could do whatever the fuck it wants. It's like, no.
That's not how stories work, people.
Yeah.
An ending which still has people furious over 20 years later. Personally, I love the ending. It was...
See, in his opinion, so he said personally, so he's okay. Ugh.
Yeah.
all I ever wanted. I'd argue that the chosen ending...
It's very low standards.
I don't believe that for a second. Like, I'm sure he's doing like coping mechanism where he's like, oh yes, now I rewatched it so many times that now I love it. Like, there's no way anyone would watch Evangelion and then love the ending the first time they watch it. Like,
there are dozens of questions, not only plot related but character related. There's literally no denouement. There's no climax, unless you can call popping off Kairu's head a climax, I guess. Yeah. It was shocking, but it just drops it. It just this is why it's called the Gainax ending, because there is no ending. Yeah.
It comes out of nowhere.
But it's everything he wanted. It's everything he wanted.
Okay. I hate this.
This is our political leader. They can do no wrong. They're just
focused almost entirely within the mind of series protagonist Shinji Ikari is not only the most satisfactory way the show could have ended, but also what is fully responsible for turning a great show into a groundbreaking show.
No, like I argued before we started the stream, if you take the 2 episodes on their own as a complementary to the final movie, it's good. But as a ending conclusion to the entire series, it's fucking terrible, because again, like you just explained, there's no proper conclusion. It just ends with nothing being resolved.
Well, the fact that he says that this is a great conclusion by having monologues at the end is not how you make a good story better. Okay?
No.
This is literally just an aside by the characters on the stage.
Yeah.
And the only context we have is because of Third Impact, therefore everyone's mind is linked.
Yeah. So it doesn't even properly explain. Like you, even at the beginning of the episode, you get some information that things are still happening, and then boom, you get inner monologues out of nowhere. Even the inner monologues are not even explained. It just happens. And you're made to accept it.
And the inner monologues are like, I remember there's 2 scenes where 2 characters are talking. It's like, I am the representation of you as you see me, and then you are the representation as you see me. Or it's like, wait a second, so we're both seeing each other here? What is going on?
Yeah. Well, I mean, then you have to go into fan theories about whether or not this actually happens in End of Evangelion, or if it's like its own context within the series. Nothing makes sense. But like, it's basically just inner monologues within Shinji and
the other.
It's still just inner, within the other characters. Maybe, or they're actually the other characters introspecting with each other. It's like all the characters are just squished into the inner monologue of Shinji. Like, there's Shinji, and then there's all the characters within his head, and they all talk to each other, but they're also all in his head. But it's never explained why. The ending is dumb and it makes no fucking sense, but it's cool thematically. But because it's cool thematically, it doesn't excuse how it doesn't make any fucking sense.
And I'm not hoping to change anyone's mind. If you're dissatisfied, then you're dissatisfied. All I'm hoping is that I could soften some of the resolve against this controversial ending and shine a light on the very particular value that it has. but also, yeah, it's objectively the best ending in TV history.
Let's just pause and realize the loss of all the self-respect we have for this man. It is objectively the best ending.
I mean, it's not the worst ending, but it's like it's out there. Again, like it comes out of fucking there you go. It comes out of left field, and nothing is explained. But because it has cool themes, it's good.
It's a non-ending. It's not a real ending.
Yeah, it's a non-ending.
And he's calling it the best objectively.
Nah. I hate this. Oh.
Aren't fanboys fun? Isn't this great to just listen to them talk about their fandom?
Like, there's nothing wrong with this, but at least have more than just I love it because it exists. This entire video is just this is great because it's great.
It's objectively the best.
But why does he say objectively when he says it's just my personal opinion? You can't say that. God damn it.
This is true. You cannot say that. But he did. Okay, let's keep going.
So, deal with it?
I am dealing with it, damn it.
No! You can't say deal with it when he said it's my personal preference. You can't say that. Fuck you.
Yeah, well.
God damn it.
He has good authority on the factor for being a super fan, so you know.
It's important to acknowledge exactly why it is that people hate Neon Genesis Evangelion's ending so much. We spend a full season with our heroes, Shinji, Rei, and Asuka, as they attempt to thwart a cataclysmic invasion of angels, and as the mysterious organization Zila attempts...
Zila?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Is that a Z?
I think it's Sele, but I don't... Pretty sure it's Sele. It's Zila?
See, one of the problems of projection
never heard that.
Is your understanding and pronunciation of words. So in your mind, it all makes sense, even though when you actually hear it from someone else, like, oh, that's not right, sir. I think you're...
I mean, it might be. I've never heard it that way.
I've heard seal. I've heard Sealy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Never Zila, like zebra.
Like Xena Warrior Princess. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah.
To bring about something called the Human Instrumentality Project. But our final 2 episodes as the Human Instrumentality Project begins and...
How do we know that? Does anyone know?
They kind of explained that everything's been building up to the instrumentality, but they never explain what it is other than it's going to happen.
And they never show how it starts.
Yeah. And yeah, they never show how it starts. Like even within the context of the final episode, it's just like Shinji killed Kaoru, then he's sad. Then Misato says that it's okay if you kill them, and then instrumentality happens. Like, there's nothing that explains it.
Yeah, it's not even the lore can like the lore says what the second impact was and the cover-ups and all that stuff, but third impact,
not even the lore. Explain it. Like the lore itself does not explain why there's such a disconnect. That's it. Why there's a disconnect between like things happening in the show, and then you immediately go into the inner mind of Shinji. Like even before the other episodes, like whatever you went into the psychology of a character, there was always like a reason for it to happen. In the final episode, there's just no reason. It just happens, and you're meant to deal with it for 2 episodes.
And the actual instrumentality project has a different interpretation from the Sealy, from Gendo, from Rei, and then there's whatever the heck Shinji does, which we don't even know because there was no showing.
Yeah.
So
like the instrumentality is just basically like a wish that you can make, if I remember correctly. So like it doesn't even make sense within the final 2 episodes. It's just like basically you merge the Lilith with Adam, and then you create a wish, and you could do whatever you want with that. Like it's meant to be like the absolute escapism where you can do whatever you want, but it doesn't even make sense within its context within the last 2 episodes. How does the instrumentality make Shinji go into his psychological inner tank?
Yeah, it sounds like the premise or the desire of Fate Stay Night series of getting the Holy Grail. It's like, what is this thing? We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But even in Fate Stay Night, it's explained. Like
it show you exactly what it is. Like, oh, that's weird, but we see it. So
and in Evangelion, it's not really explained. It's only explained, like, again, in the PlayStation 2 game. It tells you all the lore outside of the fucking story.
Here's 2 more depressing videos for you guys that since you were complaining. It's like, thanks, Hideki. It's really, really great.
God.
And the souls of all humanity begin to merge, shift
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know that. Thanks.
gears to a purely internal point of view. It's a drastic refocusing and change of narrative format, and we're presented with a psychological profiling of our main characters in the form of internal monologues.
Yeah, you don't do that at the end of your show or anything. You never say, let's change the narrative. Because
And they don't even set it up. It's dumb. Ugh.
This is what you do not do in stories. You do not drastically change the narrative, the style, the presentation. It's like if I were to write a book, 10 chapters, the last chapter, I write on the left side of the margin for no reason. I just neglect the other half of the page. You'd be like, why did this happen? Is this a mistake? Is there something wrong with the printing press? Like, what happened? We were like, oh, they must have run out of money or something, right? Like, we don't know.
Yeah. Mm.
The audience is left with questions like, what actually happens to Shinji? What actually happens to Asuka? What actually happens?
Yes.
Yeah, what the fuck happens? This is the problem.
You have to answer that in an ending of a story. It's normal. It was building up to that and it just disappears.
The trouble is, all these questions are kind of meaningless, or
No, they're not.
No, they're not. Like it's like he would not have a point if like the movie did not come out, which actually does resolve all these fucking questions. Like what happened to Asuka? She gets killed and then she comes back, and then what happens to Rey? You know, she goes into Lilith. All these characters get explained. They all get resolved in the movie. They don't get resolved in the TV show. You can't say it's fine. It doesn't. It's fine if they don't get resolved because it doesn't matter. You can't say that when it does get resolved later in the movie. You can't make that argument.
It's like he's like neglecting the fact that the movie exists, or that the movie exists because of fan feedback saying, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
or rather, they're meaningless when considered outside of the context of Shinji. But
Why? How do you distance the protagonist from your story, and saying, "Oh, you should not be thinking outside of Shinji"? How else should we be thinking? We have to think in terms of the protagonist. That's all we've been given. That's the point of having a protagonist. It's like, oh, yeah, but if you think outside of him, it doesn't make sense. It's like, no, dude, it doesn't make sense with him.
to truly understand our main character, Shinji, we need to understand series creator Hideki Anno.
No, we don't.
No. I hate this. I hate this so much. I hate that every single person that talks about Evangelion goes like, oh, if we understand Anno, everything will make sense. I hate this bibliography focus culture mentality of, oh, if we understand the author, we understand the art. Why do people have this focus? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't care if Hideki Anno was like doing blow and winning the lottery and going on trips, and then he decided to write a story. I don't care his mental state. This is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. This is none of the consumer's concern, and we don't have to understand what was going through Pablo Picasso's mind when he made Guernica or whatever. This is ridiculous, okay? The art should stand alone by itself. That's it. And yes. Evangelion is one of those very good examples of an unfinished work that will remain unfinished, even if they keep redoing it, which it has been redone several times.
It's more of a sequel remake meta commentary than a remake. So it's
we're not even going to talk about rebuild. That's just another whole other.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the rebuild. Okay, no.
Yeah, we're not.
But yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I don't know why people focus so much on the author. Why do you know why? Like not just Anno, I mean in general. Like I see a lot of people just trying to understand art by understanding the artist.
The only thing that comes up is auteur theory, but that's only when you look at, let's say, a movie and it's a simple piece of work that's so avant-garde that there has to be an interpretation that you're missing, and that goes to French cinema, that goes to other aspects. With the Japanese culture, however, there are styles akin to romanticism or poetics, and philosophy or existentialism. Those are the two most common themes I see with really any Japanese, Chinese. I'm trying to like characterize them, but even when I was learning writer's craft, a lot of the Asian people that were good writers in my class had a very poetic and very existential tone. So I don't know if that's like part of their culture, but it's definitely part of their written culture. If you're talking about Yukio Mishima, Murakami comes to mind. He's been popular lately. There's all kinds of science fiction like Hosuke Nojiri with Usurper of the Sun. There's all sorts of stories out there where you're sort of left to interpretation of events amidst this very poetic narrative. It's very like grasping a teacup is like really shiny and the light hits it, and there's all these descriptions of a simple action. So whenever we watch Evangelion, I don't know if this is just Japanese thing or they just wanted to have 40 seconds worth of looking at a train station while Misato's standing outside her car and nothing's happening. How many times do we have to see Shinji inside the train, when he runs away? Like, just sitting there.
I mean, it makes sense within its own story. It's like it's meant to be like cyclical, like depression is cyclical, but I don't know. That's stretching it.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
as an animator who cut his teeth animating some of the most complicated scenes of Miyazaki's Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind, Anno went on to become one of the founding members of Gainax in the mid-'80s. Despite Anno's incredibly robust catalog of high-caliber animation credits,
yes, he's very talented. We get it.
Skill as an animator isn't responsible for Neon Genesis Evangelion's lasting impact, at least not alone. It's his life.
So why bring it up? Why does he have to bring it up? I don't get.
Well, we could talk about all the creators, all the animators. There's all these wonderful stories about how they came up with the ideas. If you look at Nadia, the character design is pretty much the prototype for Shinji.
Yeah, but Shinji, again, like Anno didn't create that. It's the creator, artist. I can't remember.
I don't remember his name. No, yeah, the character designer. Yeah,
character designer. Yeah, but like the fact that he was like Anno's a good animator. Why is that relevant to the ending?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like completely relevant. It's just like dick sucking Anno saying, "Oh wow, he's such a great artist," but he's not relevant. So,
the funny thing is, the only part of there's two funny parts of the ending I actually enjoyed. Is the one where they actually draw a line and say, "Oh, Shinji, here's your, we're going to give you a place to exist, and you could be upside down, you could be this way or that way," and you're like, "Oh, someone drew a line, wow!" And then the next scene is a walk cycle of 2 frames. The legs being apart and his legs coming together. It's like, wow, we're learning animation, folks. Look at this. And then the best part of this, the last episode, was the whole school life. What if? What if?
I mean, it's made to be like a parody of otaku like fantasy, and it's like, wouldn't that be funny? No, you idiots, it's shit.
That was the most entertaining part of the whole thing.
But it's kind of funny because like everything leading up to it, there's like barely any animation, and then there's like full blown animation, which is actually
exactly fun. So when you watch the episode 25, which is barely anything in it, and then you cut to the credits, "Fly Me to the Moon," you're like, oh my god, what a jump from nothing.
I know.
To then Ray spinning on the water.
I think that's kind of the point, but I don't know. God damn it.
But Hideki Anno is a great animator, just so you know.
Yeah.
Lifelong battle with clinical depression that's most responsible. His search for meaning and personal resolution, his growing disillusionment with otaku culture, went on to inform every decision he made when he was given the opportunity to make his own show.
That's fantastic. What does this have to do with anything?
Nothing. Like the fact that everything that Anno represents is very blatant in Evangelion, but it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Like in one interview, he says like part of him is in Shinji, part of him is in Asuka. Like he put himself in all the characters. That's what art is meant to do.
Yeah.
You put yourself in your art, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah. Creator intent does not equate to what has been produced.
Yes.
We don't care what happened behind the scenes, nor should we.
The one that would go on to be his masterwork. This is what Neon Genesis Evangelion is actually about.
Oh, fuck off. It's really about the creator insert. It's really about Hideki Anno. Hideki Anno is really what you're paying attention to. Okay, let's actually hold him to the fire here. Let's say, okay, dude, this is a show about Hideki Anno.
It's not, but everyone wants it to be, because they can't actually explain Evangelion. They have to explain Anno, because they think, again, if they can predict and explain Anno, then they can explain and understand Evangelion. And I don't know why they really have this focus on this. It's like, oh, if we understand his depression, we can understand Evangelion.
It's too bad that depression wasn't actually in the show. We see depression of Shinji, sure, but not everywhere. Asuka isn't always depressed. Rei is freaking ambivalent.
Misato's depressed to a degree. To be fair, like most of the characters are depressed.
Yeah.
Misato, Asuka. Asuka almost kills herself in one episode. So,
but it goes up and down. It's not constant depression.
Oh yeah, it's up and down. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
Gendo is not depressed ever.
That's because we don't really see Gendo throughout the entire anime. So, for all we know, he is depressed.
Yeah,
it's he doesn't see his wife anymore, and he's depressed. Who knows?
Remember, this is a show about the creator, so just so everyone remembers that. Okay.
Hideki Anno's own battle with depression. Shinji as a character is an audience surrogate, yes, and it's easy to be...
as are every protagonist in every story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Distracted by the power fantasy of being charged with piloting a giant robot to save the world.
We're not distracted by it. That's the actual plot.
Yeah.
So why would he tell us a story about that?
Because that's how he sees it.
Don't be distracted by the actual story. It's really about Hideki Anno's depression. Yeah. Oh. Okay.
But he's also an author surrogate, and the show is fundamentally built around Shinji's core of depression.
What does that even mean now? Now he's saying first he's a
the thing is that he's trying to say that Shinji is okay, because I know where he's going with this. He's trying to say that everything is about Anno expressing himself in his art, and Shinji represents in very concrete form Anno in his depression, because there is elements to it. Like in one interview, I can't remember where, with Miyazaki, Miyazaki apparently made fun of him, and Anno, when he was making Asuka of the Wind or whatever, I can't remember. Anno had headphones the same way Shinji had. Oh. So there's a clear parallel between the two, but it doesn't matter. But again, he's just trying to say that because it was Anno's creation and Anno put himself in his work, what matters more is just Shinji and nothing else, which is true, but not to the extent of the ending itself.
Well, usually when you talk about writer on board moments, or whenever you have self-inserts, the best example I know is Agatha Christie's character in her Poirot series, Ariadne Oliver. That is literally a crime fiction writer putting a crime fiction writer in her crime fiction. So it's pretty obvious it's a self-insert.
Right, but even self-inserts tend to be on the sidelines. You don't have
Right.
I haven't read that much of Poirot, but even that character, as much as I remember, doesn't directly solve anything. Because they basically exist as a sort of side god, but they don't do anything to the plot itself.
Right. This is just a thing for fun, or she gets bored, or it's clever. It's something simple. With this, he's saying, no, this is the point. Yeah, this is the whole series. And you're like, dude.
No, it's not. Shinji is the main focus point. He is the central focus of everything in Evangelion, but he's not to the point of the ending just putting all the focus on Shinji. In the anime, sorry, not in the anime, in the movie, he has he makes the choice that makes the choice for all of humanity, because he's given unlimited power, and in that context it makes sense, but not in the fucking anime where it comes out of fucking left field and nothing is explained, and Shinji just does some random introspection.
And everyone claps for him because...
Yes. It was important, but still, it still makes no sense. Ugh.
From the moment we meet Shinji, we're introduced to his depression. Immediately we understand the distance he feels from his father Gendo and his inability to be close to people. This is his war. His battle is not with the invading angels.
Well,
I mean, if you think about it, is that about Anno's war with his father? You know,
that's exactly what he's saying. It is all about Hideki Anno.
It's not.
Well, he's making the problem of internal conflict is actually more important, if not the most important part, outside of the plot. Which you're saying, well, then why are you telling me the plot? Why not just have a guy sitting in a room contemplating his existence about his relationship with his dad?
Right.
Why not just do that?
I mean, the thing is that Evangelion wants to have its cake and eat it too, where it wants to do that, which it does with Shinji and the rest of the characters, but it also wants to have cool mecha fights because cool mecha fights are cool.
But we're not trying to sell any toys. We're not trying to make any waifus.
Yeah.
Actually, we are, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I don't mind Ray dolls. Fine. Just don't want any. It's my thing.
Yeah.
It's with
Oh no, continue. Sorry.
himself. People who derisively suggest that Shinji, who admittedly is a crybaby, just go get in his robot.
That is the the tagline of the series.
Yeah.
Shinji, get in the robot.
Yes. I mean, it's a meme, but yes, pretty much.
Yeah, like every show has that. I think Ra Zephon is Tune the World. Utena is Lesbian Luge.
I mean, well, revolutionize the world.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
Brain of Revolution. I don't remember. I haven't watched Utena in a while.
It's been a while, yeah. But every anime sort of has that thing that they can log on to and say, "Oh yeah, this is what the tagline is." Or yeah. So, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know why he says that's wrong.
Because Shinji should have just gotten in the goddamn robot.
But he did. Like every time he goes in this stupid robot. Oh, I hate it. Come on, damn it. Every time. I swear to God.
Don't seem to recognize that he's fighting his battle even when he's not physically fighting.
Thank you.
Mental conflict exists.
Wow, it's amazing. This is best work ever. Couldn't think of. I didn't know there was internal conflict with our protagonist. Wow, this is. Oh, how did he see that? It's amazing.
And when he does physically fight, it's only in the service of trying to make his dad proud and close the distance between them. This is something he even directly acknowledges in episode 12. We see most of the show unfold from Shinji's point of view.
Oh no, it's the dreaded train scenes. Oh God. So many. It symbolizes his depression in trying to run away.
Yes.
And it literally shows us his depression in trying to run away.
Yes.
That's why it's a okay scene, because it makes sense. We understand what's going on.
View, which justifies the overbearingly fatalistic tone of the show. After the near mass extinction of the human species, the show barely spends any time setting up the stakes of saving the world. It overwhelmingly feels like all is already lost.
No, not really. They say, okay, they don't really explain why, but they say, like, if we don't defeat these 12 angels, we are fucked. We just need to get to that point. But they don't explain why they need to do it. They just say we need to do it. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't say the stakes are completely clear, but that's also because we don't know what the plan is exactly. It's like, obviously we have to stop these things, but like some of the angels, they start digging down into the base.
Yeah,
but
because they want to get to Lilith.
Yeah, but some of them don't. You're like, what is the point of the enemy then? So,
some of them are just slow to get there, but they all eventually get to that point.
I guess. I don't know. It was never really clear what was going on, aside from when they started digging directly. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, again, the main thing is that they want to get that big white... Like, here's the general plot of Evangelion, which makes no sense. They basically have to destroy the 12 angels, and then they have to start, human instrumentality. But they can't start it before, or else... Going back. There's, like... The lore is this: billions of years in the past, aliens, gray aliens, created a bunch of shit. They decided they're gonna die. They flew in space to the seed of life and the seed of wisdom or knowledge. I don't remember.
Yeah.
and then apparently they're not supposed to to meet, but for some reason 2 of them met on Earth. Right. One of them was on the moon, the other one of them was on Earth, and because of that, angels keep coming out of one and Lilith is on the other. I don't fucking remember. I don't care about the fucking lore. This is why the lore doesn't fucking matter. You're not supposed to give a fuck about that. And like the point is that basically you have to defeat these 12 angels before they meet the endpoint. Like one is trying to meet the other, or else everything goes to shit. Stop that from happening and humanity is saved. But and then there's Armageddon afterwards. But like that's the only point of the story. But too much people put too much focus on that aspect.
And it's very confusing, and it's not explained very well. Yeah. And to be honest, the animation is great in certain episodes, and then it's mediocre in others. So that's why people see it as sort of like a mediocre mecha anime, but then they focus on the interpersonal stuff or the depression or whatever, and you're just like, okay, I guess.
I mean, the depression is, again, the core element, because the lore doesn't matter. The depression and the character psychology is like at the forefront, but with mecha fights. So, because again, the lore is never explained, so you have no other choice but to focus on the psychology of the characters, which I think it's good because it makes the characters more realistic and humane. And the focus, like, what would be more important, the fighting or the characters themselves? I mean, depends on the person, I guess.
It's the reason behind the fighting. So when they say is the backstory, the focus is Shinji, it's why he gets in the robot. Now that's great. The problem is just take a step back and say, listen, this is the most important human on the planet. He's the only guy who can do anything, and it's sort of showcased when he's at school, and everyone's like, "What? You pilot those things?"
Yeah.
Like if I was a kid in school and everyone knew that about me, I'd be like the most important guy. I'd have a pretty big bloated ego. I'd be flying pretty high. So
except for Shinji, because Shinji hates himself.
Shinji's a moron. He's like, hey, wait a second, I'm super important. I can.
Yeah, Shinji hates himself. Like he should think that he's the most important person, but because he doesn't value himself, he doesn't believe that he should be valuable.
And that's one of the major flaws that is not looked at, because when we talk about flaws,
I think it is. Well, I mean, flaws in what sense?
Okay, when we talk
character flaw or flaws as a writing flaw?
Both actually, because he's unaware of it.
It's more psychologically he's integrated it into himself. Like he acknowledges it, but he's not self-aware of it.
That's what I mean. Like he's too immature. But that also means if he's not too immature, that means he's stupid, because it's like this is the universe we're presented with. And it's like, you're the only one who can do this. You can try with Rei, but she's not very good. You can try with Asuka, but she would go too crazy. She could blow herself up. You're the best we've got.
Right.
And he's never aware of this to the extent that it has value to him, aside from it justifying his existence. But it's not about your existence, buddy. It's about you actually doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Right, but that's the thing. He doesn't know it's the right thing to do. Like he just does it because his father told him, and he doesn't have another reason.
Which is insane.
That's what it's presented as in the anime. I know.
Yeah, and if it actually went to that point, which it does with was it Taji? I think when he runs away for the last time. Was it Kaji or the guy with the Misato's boyfriend?
Yeah, Kaji.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? If I could help people, I would. Like that's equivalent of what he was saying at the end.
Yeah, he explains it actually. That at one point, I explained it to him that if the angels aren't defeated, humanity is fucked. I think that's like the only time anyone ever tells him that he needs to pilot the robot for a reason. And it's everyone else is like, just do it, Shinji. Fuck off. Get
in the goddamn robot. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Like, isn't that pretty obvious by now? Like couldn't you figure? Like, I thought that was the obvious thing. It's like, oh yeah, everything's gonna die, so you may as well. I don't know. If I was asked to save humanity, and you're giving me $1 billion piece of equipment that is synchronized to my soul or whatever, and it's a huge robot, and I can, do this heroic thing, I might be inclined to help and, learn and practice and go through all the rigmarole of doing that. But that never manifests. It's always, oh, my dad doesn't love me, and he only justifies my existence by doing that. It's like there's more to the story of the universe that you've given us than this shallow little viewpoint. It's like, oh.
But again, it's because Shinji is the main focus, so it has to be about that, even though it's supposed to be more than that. Well, it kind of constrained itself about.
Yeah, I just wish
Shinji
that was addressed, because if you're going to do a mature story about self-referential depression and all sorts of things about this is my raison d'être and what I'm doing with my life, you have to address the obvious and go, oh, by the way, everyone's going to die. And all you have to say is, I don't care about that. I don't care about anyone else. And you're like, oh, okay. This is all about you, Mr. Ego. Great.
Okay, but I mean, that's the thing. Shinji only cares about other people. He doesn't care about himself. He doesn't address it. He knows it, but he's not self-aware of it.
Well, that's the problem I'm saying is with Eva, is that if you're going to flip something on its head, or if you want to address a genre which you're getting tired of or stale, you have to actually address the common sense or common observations that people have made and say, okay, we're not going to just do hero man who grows and becomes a hero, because obviously they wanted to go with the depression or the depressive hero who's sort of the non-hero.
Right.
Great. So go all the way with that. Don't just screw up halfway and just keep, like, he just keeps whining throughout the entire series. Whine. It's like, okay, great. Are you ever going to learn anything? Because in order to grow, you have to be aware of what your problem is. And that's why, because this was never brought up, and it's aside from
it does happen, but ironically, it happens at the end of the anime.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
again, the inner monologue. Like, I will say this: the brilliance of the ending is actually that the one time that Shinji addresses and is self-aware of his deep self-hatred is when he realizes that he should not hate himself. And that's, the clapping scene. He's like, oh yeah, I could probably love myself. And everyone claps at him. So again, like, it's not explained or referenced in the entirety of the season because, of the show, because Shinji is not aware of it. He's only aware of it at the end. But again, the end is kind of shit, except for that part. So,
I think we've waited too long on this moment, which I'm quite sure the fanboy on the screen has never even thought of. But okay.
Oh God.
A relatable feeling for anyone who struggled with depression. The show isn't about saving the world.
I mean, it kind of is, but
it really is.
Really? Like, okay. It really is about saving the world, but it's also about Shinji. It's kind of both.
When you say about, to me, in my brain, I think theme. So if 59 or 51% of the story is about a bunch of robots fighting a bunch of aliens, that's the major theme. That's what the story is mostly about. So
I mean, okay, it's not really about the theme. Like, the robots are just like spectacle. It doesn't really matter. Like there's the theme about saving the world is like inconsequential. The theme of Evangelion is all about like accepting reality, running away from reality to escape from pain, and relying on other people instead of loving yourself first. Like, that's the main core theme of Evangelion. Everything else is just spectacle. It's just that the spectacle takes also like 50% of the runtime.
See, that would be okay in my book if it's interrelated with the spectacle, but it's not.
Right.
Which is why it's not a very great. It's a mediocre show. The story is good because of the characters. That's all.
I don't know if I can agree to that, but
okay.
Because I still love the spectacle and the themes. I just. I agree. I agree on your point that the spectacle and the themes itself should be intertwined, which I think they kind of are. But I agree with you that they should be more than that. And I don't have any counterpoints. I just think it's good, but it's like not to your extreme.
Right. Okay.
Not totally. It's about these characters saving themselves. A good.
Not
I mean,
really.
Not really. Like, the only character that saves itself is like Rei and maybe Shinji at the end, but that's again in the movie.
Right.
Like, none of the characters save themselves. Like, the point of the show is that all the characters are just broken, damaged people, and they just keep hating themselves.
Yeah, even to the end where if we imagine that Asuka is actually real, she's still like, oh yeah, I still want acceptance from my mom, even though I hated her, even though I want to be independent and I can't be.
Yeah. Like all the characters are fucked.
Yeah. Misato's still Misato. Gendo's still Gendo. Like, they don't change.
Yeah. Except for Shinji, because he gets to realize that he hates himself.
he gets to have his public couch trip on his own.
Yep.
Yay! Bravo! Congratulations! This story is over. Okay.
Show will tell you what it's about, and time again, Evangelion does exactly this.
No.
I mean, to a degree,
it's convoluted. It's confusing. There are some great scenes, but they're dispersed between, like, oh, this is the introduction of Asuka, and then she has her battle scene, and that's great, and then she gets really depressed, and that was great. That was a good thing to do. But Rei, I'm Rei. Hi.
Rei is different because Rei's like a clone with a soul, and she basically interacts with other people, and she's made to be a tool. So she basically learns self-independence by interacting with more people, which is basically like a commentary on how we become our individuals by learning through experience.
The last episode really tried to stretch that out, but it was just it was so empty. It was just like, what? Why is she...
because again, like, there's not much to her overall. I mean, there's a lot to her emotionally, but character-wise, there's not much to her, in my opinion. And then, like, there's like 2 episodes before, like, the ending, where they try to say, like, oh, she wants to be more emotional and more connected with other people, but she also, like, wants to die. And again, the finale also tries to do that, but it's like there's only like 2 episodes worth of that.
And that's the one Rei that, well, once the first Rei dies, then we get the second Rei. And it's like, oh, okay, so you're different, but you're still Rei. It's like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Well, but the thing is that she's supposed to lose her soul and become like a new Rei, but her soul comes back for some reason. So that's why she still remembers, and then she's mad at Gendo because she just realized, oh yeah, I'm a tool. I could be replaced at any time. And that's, again, in the movie, they resolve this by Rei rejecting Gendo and saying, I'm not a tool, I'm my own person. But in the anime, it's not resolved.
No.
So again, without the movie, everything is fucked.
Yes.
So you can't have the TV show be good if nothing is resolved. That's the main problem. And he's saying, oh yeah, it's objectively the best ending because nothing is resolved. Because everything is about Shinji. It's like, no, there are more things in the plot than Shinji. Yeah, like, Shinji is the most important. Yeah, sure. But there are other elements within the themes in the story that are not resolved. And he's trying to say, yeah, it is.
And remember, folks, the best way to resolve these ideas is not to have a mindscape that lasts 2 episodes or arguably 35, 40 minutes long. It's just like, okay.
Every single element of the show points back toward the very same end. Shinji wanting to be close to his distant father.
Except near the end, he doesn't want to anymore. He rejects it.
I mean, not really. Like, the thing is that he doesn't want to be hated. He's trying to say that he wants to be loved by his father, but he kind of hates him because he isn't loved. It's like an abusive relationship with your parents, right. I guess.
Right. I'm talking about the ending, though. I just watched this like 3 hours ago, so it's like he literally rejects his dad.
Okay.
And then everyone starts clapping. You're like, okay.
Does he reject him? I don't know.
There's a line where they want, do you want to do what your dad says? He says, no. Do you want to do what your mom says? No. Like, okay. Then he says, I'm going to do it because I love me. And like, what? Yeah, okay. That's good.
Shinji wanting to feel the closeness of his dead mother, Rei's inability to relate to other people.
Is that really her problem? Does she care?
I mean, no, she's able to connect with other people. It's just that she doesn't have much experience.
Yeah, she doesn't.
Like the thing is that she's like, her interaction is basically just Shinji.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess Asuka whenever she's not being a bitch, but just like rare. And other than that, she, like, no one interacts with her.
Yeah, the most,
like, that's a problem.
Aside from the animation, that the one, what if this was an actual shoujo anime with mecha at the last episode animation? The best part of the ending is literally Asuka saying, "Are you stupid?" over and over again. Are you stupid? Like, yes, he is. We get it. Yeah. It's just like, thank you.
Asuka's desperation to feel valid and wanted. Gendo wanting to be with Yui again. Misato expressing her sexuality to feel close to anyone. Adam and...
I never saw that as a flaw with Misato. I just thought...
No, it's not a flaw. I mean, it's a character core of her character. I mean, they kind of try to explain it that she has like an Electra complex and she kind of hates herself, and because by hating herself, she just becomes not a whore, but trying to.
No, they say that she's a hedonist. It's like, well, so what? I mean,
there you go. Nymphomaniac. There you go.
Not even. I wouldn't even go that far. I mean,
they imply it, but they don't really say it outright.
Yeah, I never
like the thing
saw...
the thing is, it's trying to have like its anime characterization of she likes a lot of sex, and she might have something with Shinji if they weren't fucking broken, and that sort of fantasy. But it's like, I don't know where I was going with this.
I would just say that she has a lack of maturity in some cases. Like, obviously she doesn't live very healthy. She stocks her entire fridge with beer. It's a mess. It's like, okay, she's
still a child.
She has some problems for sure, but I never saw any of those qualities as things that needed to be developed or flaws that had to be projected or fixed. It was just, this is her character, and she's in charge of things, and that's it.
I mean, there is one episode where she's like with Kaji and she's unable to like embrace him or something, where she acknowledges that she can't grow up because she's uncertain whether or not she actually loves him. So there is some flaw to her that she needs to grow up and she needs to improve on that, because it's like being a child forever. Well, not a child. It's like being a teenager forever, and she's like, even though she has like she's in charge of a military outpost or whatever, she's still acting like a child outside of her job.
Right. So
it's like she's mature in her job, but not in her private life.
Right. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Lilith attempting to rejoin. The very goal of the Human Instrumentality Project, bringing everyone together with no boundaries. What other way could it possibly end other than our main characters, Asuka, but principally Shinji, being forced to finally confront everything that they've been battling against since we first met them?
Oh my god.
They don't do this. They don't do this in the anime. Again, they do this in the movie because like Shinji's realization that he has to embrace reality is like the core element that unites all the characters. But in the anime, it doesn't do that.
But this is of course, this is the only way it could have been done. It's like, dude, are you watching a different show than the rest of us? The story's about this character named Adam, who's Kaoru, I think, who wants to unite with Lilith or something. That was the main thrust of the plot. Now we have... no, it's all just interpersonal relationships. Really. It's like, no.
And again, it's a big plot, but he puts it, again, I think he's trying to merge the movie and the anime and trying to say, oh yeah, it was all resolved. But again, on its own, the anime is not enough. God damn it.
Now, if you want to interject and insist that the lore and backstory are just as important as the theme, well, I'd agree.
Really? I thought he said that...
It wasn't important, yeah. He literally said it wasn't important, so...
Okay, I'm a bit confused now, but let's see where he goes with this.
But the lore and backstory are the very same theme.
What?
No,
okay,
it's not.
First off, lore, backstory are two different things, as is theme. So he just says A equals B equals C. That's not how logic works. That's not how storytelling works. You could have lore being a major component and thus be the theme, and that could be told in the form of backstory, sure, but we know that doesn't happen in the way he's describing in the show.
Yeah.
So unless, again, these are his definitions, he could be using different terms, but from what I understand of those words, those are three totally different things.
Yeah.
The lore is rich with things Hideki Anno turned to for solutions. Theology and mysticism are so present they're impossible to miss, but
what are those solutions, aside from they sound cool?
Yeah, he doesn't explain like how they're relevant. Like Christianity itself has like barely any relevance in the show in terms of themes, even then. So you can't just say, "Oh, look, it has Christian symbology." Like, how is it related to the themes? He can't just say, "Oh, they exist." That's not enough. That's not a sufficient answer.
Yeah, and let's be honest. There's a lot of Judeo-Christian terms that have bad, if not poor, understanding. Like the three wise men are the computer cores.
Yeah. Like they're just an aesthetic preference. They're just there for spectacle. Like I can't remember where he said this, but Ano said in an interview that the only reason he took Christianity is because it's not that popular. I mean, it's not prevalent in Japan, so it seemed foreign. Like
Right.
that's the only reason. It's just spectacle, and then he's just saying, "Oh no, it's important because it's there." It's not enough.
Yeah, he wasn't actually trying to market this to North America or Europe, because when he was thinking about it, it's like, well, most of the religious people, if there are any religious in Japan at the time, were Buddhist or
Shinto.
Or Shinto. Yeah, Shintoism. That's right. So this was not like he could have picked Norse. He could have picked any other mythology he wanted, and that those have apocalyptic stories in them as well. So,
but just again, Christianity.
Apparently, the themes are related to the lore, which are related to backstory. They're all the same.
No, it's not. Again, he said in the beginning that the lore doesn't matter, but now he's saying that the lore does matter because it's related somehow to the themes, but he doesn't explain how. He's just trying to brush it off.
Yeah, that's what happens with fanboys. They get caught up in their own logic. There's circular reasoning.
But most apparent on references to Christian iconography and the Kabbalah and searching for unity of the soul through angelic means, then there's philosophy, transparently present in episode titles like The Hedgehog's Dilemma.
That's true. This is true.
Which is a nod to Schopenhauer's parable of people's inability to become emotionally close with each other without hurting each other also. And of course, there's psychology, Freud being the most obvious reference point, Shinji's maternal attachment, his literalized
this is kind of pushing it, but yes, there obviously is psychology when you talk about a character drama. One of the titles is, I think, Oral Complex.
Yeah, the oral stage.
Oral stage, that's fine. If we're talking about...
But how's that related to the lore? He didn't explain it.
No.
He just said it's related to the psychology and philosophy. It's like, yeah, sweet. But how's it related to the lore? He just brushed it off.
And if we're talking about titles, we are talking about the last two. And I'm trying to remember, was it Harlan Ellison title? Yeah, it was basically The Beast Who Shouted I at the End of the World. And what's clever about... Yeah, that's an actual short story by Harlan Ellison. What's clever about that title is the actual title is The Beast Who Shouted Love at the End of the World, but I, or AI, is the Japanese word for love. So...
that's clever.
It is a clever thing, but that's the thing. It's just a title. It has almost nothing to do with the short story of Harlan Ellison's work, which was... we're talking about Harlan Ellison. This guy writes crazy stories in short story anthologies all the time. This is one of his first. So there is a little bit of science fiction in there that can be connected. And I do recommend reading everything Harlan Ellison anyway. But it has to do with the idea of an evil, the spirit of evil being removed from a creature and then being sent out into the universe because this other species didn't want it, and it got sucked up by humanity somehow. So... kind of connected, but very, very loosely. But
but again, that's not related to the lore.
No,
it's very interesting. I find that actually really good. Interesting. That's a very good connection. But it's
Hideki Anno's a smart man, but I've always said this about Hideo Kojima, Hideki Anno. They must be stopped. I don't mean stop making stuff. I'm just saying you have to put a leash on them. And there's a point where I want them to work, and then I want them to stop working. Just pull them back. It's the same thing that happened with Xenogears. I'm sure it's going to happen with the next Kojima production. It's just like you got to pull them back. It's whoa there, Nelly.
I don't know. I mean, I think Anno's doing pretty good, except for the 2 episodes at the end of the anime. Like. Removing that, I think it's like, again, Evangelion is a pretty good anime, excluding the ending. because again, they fixed it with the movies, so it's fine. And then the rebuild movies are fine. Just I don't know.
Return to the womb by being placed inside of a robot with the soul of his mother that effectively floods with amniotic fluid.
I think that's more symbolism than it is literal meaning.
Yeah. Again, unrelated to the lore.
Yeah.
Then there's the actual science fiction inventions, like AT fields, a field described as a barrier to the soul, or a literalized obstruction to people becoming close together.
See, this is a good thing. It's kind of weird, but this is the public aspect of the story. You're fighting robots. What do they have for defenses? Something called an AT field. And then they translate that into everyone has an AT field. We just can't see it or can't feel it.
Yeah.
And the point of the instrumentality project is to break the AT field.
Yeah, and that's actually really clever. Like, I would actually argue that the AT field is the one piece of lore and related to the mechas that are related to the themes. But other than that, not really. Like, not to the extent I can think of.
Yeah. It's
like the AT field is basically... Yeah, like the AT field is just meant to symbolize like the inability to truly connect with other people. And that's fine. But again, it's unrelated to anything else, to the lore. So, like, there's nothing else in the lore that relates to psychology. Like, again, what do the angels have? Whatever.
A bunch of scary monsters trying to kill you.
Like, ultimately, every single theme, every single device in the show comes back to the intrapersonal struggle with meaning and depression. Now, this...
it's pushing it. I don't know about that. I wish that were the case, though. If every single thing had to do with depression and interpersonal struggles, because Shinji's a loner. He doesn't want to interact. Gendo's a loner. He doesn't care. Misato's just doing her job. Rei's just doing whatever people want her to do. I guess Asuka is the only one that really... She's her own, like, I want to do this. I want to be great. Da, da, da.
No, she's also a loner. She's just outwardly, she's just being extrovert and brash, and not a brash, arrogant, I would say.
Yeah.
Just to mask her loneliness. It's like a depressive person that just speaks loud. They're just trying to hide their depression. That's the thing with Asuka. And yeah.
Is what the show is actually about. Everything else is just set dressing.
Okay, is it set dressing or is it really the same? Because he just said that lore and backstory and symbolism are all important. And now he's saying, no, it's all set dressing. So he's come full circle. He's like, first it's not important, then it's all the same, now it's set dressing.
It's whatever the fuck I want.
Fanboys are amazing. Their logic is just goes round and round. We call it different names, but it's just, I don't know how they do it.
He's just arguing again. It's great because it's great. He has no argument behind it. It's circular. There's no way around it. Oh, God.
The final 2 episodes are not just some random internal monologue, and despite popular belief... Finally,
we're back.
The last 2 episodes are not some rambling internal monologue.
I mean, they are. I mean, okay, well, they're... I mean, they are, but they're not at the same time.
95% of it is. There's some animation in there. That is true. And it was a what-if scenario, which I actually liked. And then there's the credits, which are still running time. So it's,
Yeah. Again, like, a large portion of it is just re-explaining and introspecting the characters, like Asuka, Rei, Shinji, and Misato. And then making Shinji realize that if he has absolute freedom, he has nothing, and then giving him like a fake fantasy, and then realizing, oh yeah, I guess I could be whatever the fuck I want, and I could love myself. Congratulations. It's like, 90% of it is kind of irrelevant. It was already in the show. That was just stretched out in the final 2 episodes. And again, Anno addresses that. He acknowledges that it wasn't really good. And that he had to rush and create that, which is why he had to fix it in the movie.
Yeah, it's
but
like
again,
the creator, if he cares about the creator's intent, and the creator's actually saying it was rushed and not very good.
Yeah. But no, the thing is that he ignores that because he just wants to say, oh yeah, we should care about the creator's emotional state, which was impactful in the movie. Like, there's two different things. There's one, the creative process, and then there's the creative emotional state when they were creating the art. And he's just saying one's important, the other one doesn't matter.
Well, the other one, but the one that we got was the best possible.
Objectively
the best ending. Oh my
God damn it.
I think we would have been a lot more nicer to this guy if he didn't say that.
They're also not the accidental result of budget cuts.
Maybe.
Mm.
We don't know the whole story.
Yeah, we don't know the creative process, so.
This is an authored attempt by Hideki Anno to break through to the audience with the absolute most pertinent element of the show.
Yeah, by having single frame animation. Yeah, that's not budget cuts. No,
Yeah, no. Actually, it's budget cuts are not even the issue. Again, the problem is scheduling. Anno was basically rushed on a deadline because, again, he was making these episodes one at a time, and then he was like extremely out of time to finish the final episodes to wrap everything up. So he was basically screwed. Again, it's nothing to do with budget. It's just that he had bad scheduling and he fucked everything up.
That sounds closer to the truth. Yeah. I mean, we don't know the exact story, but that sounds like.
Oh no, that's basically what he said in an interview.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just that everyone blames the budget because, like, again, like the image that we're seeing, like Asuka, like barely being drawn, is like basically like the entirety of the episodes except for like the fantasy, and the fantasy part.
Yeah.
Like everything else other than that is like it screams like they didn't have enough money, but it's not that they didn't have enough money. Maybe they didn't, but again, it's the schedule. They didn't have Anno did not have enough time to properly write and schedule everything, so they had to rush everything. So yeah.
That despite theology, despite psychology, despite philosophy, despite everything, one truth remains clear: final healing comes from within.
Okay, if I don't know how you can have final healing without psychology, so maybe he's just listing the things that, oh, by the way, this show has all this stuff, but it's really about this final moment in the ending where Shinji accepts his existence or whatever. That's a psychological moment. I mean,
yeah, it's a good moment, but nothing builds up right to it. Whatever.
Shinji recognizing his own depression, his own inability to connect.
I think he's recognized his depression since the first episode, maybe accepting his depression.
Yeah, it's not even, again, depression, his accepting depression, but like I said, it's accepting that he hates himself. Yeah. Like at one point, like the final scene before he explains that he loves himself is saying that I am a cowardly, hypocritical, this whatever person. Like it's at that point where he acknowledges, yes, I hate myself. And by hating myself, I could probably love myself instead. That's, congratulations. But he's wrong. Whatever.
I love that. He's wrong. Whatever. Yeah, whatever.
The singular focus of the character comes to a head in the only way that it can.
Oh my God. There's no other way. There's absolutely no other way this could have been written or done or produced or animated. This is it. It's the best. It's objectively the best. Oh my God.
Which is wrong because it happened in the fucking movie. Like, it didn't happen exactly the same way, but Shinji accepted reality.
Which means that the movie must be subpar or suck.
Oof. Oh, I'm not touching that.
Well, if he's saying this is the best, I mean, in his opinion, of course. Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't be any other way, so. He says so. Objectively. In his personal opinion.
They were just like lighting those $100 bills on fire. It's like, we don't need this money. One frame of animation is good enough for everyone.
In his head, and coming to the conclusion that he needs to accept himself, accept suffering, and learn to be better is the single most mature way that this show could end.
Again, just
it's a good scene, but nothing leads up to it.
Gushing, this is the best. Nothing could have done. This is the only way. It's like, dude, you are digging that hole so deep.
Like, he loves the scene. I love the scene too, but you can't excuse the rest of the fucking scenes behind it that are not that good. God, I hate this. I hate this so much.
This is why I bring people on this show.
Why do you make me suffer?
And if you take issue with the break in style, I can't help you there. Personally, I found the stark change in narrative style so grabbing, so arresting that I couldn't look away.
Oh, what a surprise.
Well, he liked it, so it must be good, right?
It's amazing. I mean, how could you not like it? It's the perfect thing. It's like, okay, buddy.
I mean, objectively, he liked it, so objectively, it must be good.
Not even going to criticize the lack of animation, the lack of plot, the complete. He actually likes the jump from narration to narration of just some other topic. The plight of all the characters, the plight of the world, what any of this even means. There's no denouement because again, this is the climax. Yeah. This is the climax of the show, and then the show ends. There's no downward motion. There's no ending, and there's no denouement. It's an ending simply because it's the last episode.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, basically. Like again, it's great that they fixed it in the movie, but again, the anime sucks. I mean, not the anime. The anime ending sucks.
Never seen anything like it, and in the years since, I still haven't.
Okay, if this guy has not seen anything like it, and it's like the worst, or sorry, to him it's the best possible thing. I mean, we can point to all sorts of endings that were actually meaningful and had value, and weren't. No,
but he's trying to say that is there any story where it ends with an inner monologue for 40 episodes for 40 minutes or whatever? Like I can't think of any, but like he's trying to say that it's because it's unique and there's nothing like it, then it must be good.
I would say
and it's like
there are again. I would say that's why I talked about Nadesico, because it's like Eva and it has a very weird ending as well. So maybe he's just not aware of it. I would say Utena again. It's like Sailor Moon on crack.
Right.
You know, it's just this weird, trippy thing. Dual Parallel, Infinite Rivius.
What is that? Infinite what?
Infinite. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Lord of the Flies in Space. It's there's all these kids and all the it's like a seed ship, but all the adults are dead and they wake up the kids.
Never heard that.
There's Earth Girl Arjuna. That's pretty trippy. I don't know if the ending was particularly clear. I'm just trying to remember all these animes I watched back in the day, and I'm like, what the hell happened at the end? For him to say this, there has to be something I'm missing with this non-ending ending. I can't even remember.
It's a monologue. Again, it's great. Again, I have to explain this. It's great because it exists, and it's great. That's the end point. It's just great because it exists.
The right format for the message is something that puts you literally face to face with it and makes you confront things right there along with Shinji.
Wow, like any other thing you could possibly read or watch or listen to at any point in any selection of story. Yes, we are paying attention, buddy. We are with the character. We are listening to the words on the screen. Mm-hmm. Like this guy is just like, it's blue, and blue is an amazing color for an ending. And if you don't like endings that are blue, it's like, dude, what are you talking about?
Oh, God.
Right where the audience should be. So what is Neon Genesis Evangelion all about? A cataclysmic invasion of angels? An ancient prophecy? The dark machinations of secret organizations? Power?
Yep.
No, these are all externalizations. Good ones.
No, dude,
they're
you
part
just
of the show.
You said this was lore, and lore is backstory, and backstory.
Yeah, he did say that it was important to the themes. You can't flip flop and say that it's not important, and then just say, "Oh yeah, by the way, it's not important."
So this is his fourth time he's changed his opinion.
It's because he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. He's trying to say that the lore is not important because it's spectacle, but the lore is also spectacle because it's important to the themes when it suits him.
It's this. I love this circular logic. This is the fourth time we've been counting. The fourth time he said this. Only this is the third negative one. The second one was the, theme is equal to lore and backstory. So it's like, okay. So, yeah, this is the problem with fanboys. They get lost, and they don't actually write their thoughts down and actually think about what they like and why.
Mm.
And you end up worshiping everything from a creator like Hideki Anno. And I'm not saying he's untalented. He's clearly a genius. He knows how to put things together. It's just he doesn't know how to end them. It's like I'm trying to think of another author who doesn't know how to finish stories. She's not necessarily a Japanese author, but any author. What's that famous Canadian? Oh, she's Canadian. I can't even remember my own culture. Canadian author. She has this series. It's about it's kind of women running around in red cloaks with white bonnets.
Handmaiden.
Handmaiden's Tale.
Right.
That's another author.
Wait, she's Canadian?
She's Canadian. She's still alive.
Wait, is it Atwood?
Margaret Atwood. Thank you.
Yes,
I forgot. I suck with names. I do apologize.
Oh,
Margaret Atwood does not know how to end a story.
Huh.
Even her short stories.
I mean, ending is kind of hard to.
Oh, it's very hard. I agree. But
the basic principle of writing is always that you have to at least know where you're going to end and then work backwards. But it's hard to plan that.
Yeah, beginning, middle, and end. And that's the sign of a good author. Not necessarily a good story, but a good author because he actually planned it ahead. And we know with Hideki Anno, at least from your understanding of what happened with the production, I can just say, just by looking at the thing, this was not planned.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like, again, that's why they had to fix it with the movie. And again, the movie is great. No, maybe not great. It's good. But again, it fixes the ending. So at least it gets a pass. But he's arguing that it's good because it's good. Fucking circular logic.
Ones that are representations of the complexities and pain of living in a world where you feel cut off from everyone. It's a physical reflection of Shinji's own apocalyptic emotional turmoil. In the final
That's good. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's not inaccurate. I think that's
it's just trying to explain that you're inside the inner thoughts of Shinji and you only see the inner thoughts. I mean, you get to. He's just basically explaining it, and the explanation is good because it's stylistic and coherent. It still doesn't make sense that there's a strong disconnect between the narration and the narrative and going directly to the narrative
and we're again
to the inner thoughts.
We're not too sure if it's just Shinji or if it's also Asuka and Misato. We're not sure.
It's implied that it's all of them.
Yeah.
And it's also the representation of how Shinji sees them and how the characters also see themselves and see other characters.
How they see Shinji and other characters, right. And there's that one scene where they have the three women or whatever, and they're sitting under a spotlight, and then another spotlight pops open, and it's Misato and Shinji. And then Shinji's like, what the hell is this? It's like, what?
Yeah, this is instrumentality. I don't have to explain shit. It's just that. Like, there is a theory that it happens like the ending happens in End of Evangelion, but you could consider that as like contextualization, retconning in a way. It's like saying, "Oh no, I didn't fuck up. It was all planned."
Right.
Like when Shinji is like in the gets the soul of everyone, he gets to do some introspection, so it makes sense. But again, you have to remove End of Evangelion because he's not using that as an excuse.
I think if we actually had some planning, they would say that I actually planned this. I actually thought this from the beginning or whatever, but we know that's not the case.
No, it's not.
Episode, his victory over that is not frivolous or silly or disappointing. It's
Well, disappointing is a subjective reaction to the storytelling, so I was a bit disappointed because I didn't know what was going on and what the ending was, so that's just me. In my opinion, of course.
I mean, you're not wrong.
optimistic. It's beautiful. Frankly, it's worthy of applause.
Oh boy. One frame of animation for 10 seconds. Here's another frame of animation for 15 seconds. Applause. So brave. So amazing. Look at that half-done cell that they didn't shade properly. Ah, it's beautiful.
Like I argue that the ending itself, like the final scene where Shinji accepts himself and says that he has to accept to live for himself, is great and worthy of applause, but nothing else is worth it before it. So
hey, I was entertained by that fantasy of Misato being their teacher, and Asuka being the super tsundere and Rey being actually having a personality.
Oof.
I was like, oh my God, I'd like to watch that. It was better than what we got. I mean,
oof. But that's harsh.
No, the ending part. I was like, better than the last 2 episodes.
No, I know. It's still harsh.
That would have been hilarious. Imagine they pull like a mind screw, like the episode 25 was like, da, 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 da. It's like his daily life of, and he gets up, he bops heads into Rey, and she's carrying the freaking toast, and it's all, oh geez, this is like the soppiest, most common everything that Hideki Anno hated. Just slamming it all
that would be great. Like actually, if the actual full episode would have been that, and then Shinji like recognizing that it's shit and that he can live for himself instead of like, and then you find out that, oh no, this is just a fantasy of his and that he has to overcome that and love himself. That would be fine. Like that, like that's the actual what happens after he kills Kaoru. He just has a mental breakdown and he has to overcome that. That would have been fine. I don't know if it would be good as an ending because again, all the plot threads are unresolved.
Exactly.
So
yeah, they'd have to tie in what the hell happened with Nerve.
Honestly, other than the movie, there's no way it could have been resolved. Like I think that's the main problem. There's no possible way in 2 episodes you would have resolved all the plot threads. Like the movie does that, but the anime would never have done that. So
yeah, unfortunately.
So are you wrong to want full closure to the lore of the series? No, absolutely not. It's
great.
Okay, so he's agreeing with us that we want closure, and we're not wrong to have that. But he's saying this is also the best ending ever.
Yeah, you're not allowed to desire.
I just, whoa, this guy is just like, oh yeah, this is okay, but you could also not like it, and that's totally fine. It's like, wait, no, it's either is or isn't. Which one? Is it flawed or perfect?
Again, he's trying
it's
to have
great
his
that
cake
you're
and eat it
interested
too.
Yep.
in it. It's extremely well done.
No, you literally said we wanted the conclusion. You can't say it's well done if it's. We just said that a minute ago.
It's bizarre. He's like stepping on his own foot. He's like, yeah, I'm not in pain. I'm totally fine. I'm putting my foot in my mouth too. Look at that. I can talk with my foot in my mouth. Of course.
But it is also just decorative elements around an extremely personal story and a story well told.
So the conclusion to a story. This is the fifth time he's doing it.
5th time. Son of a bitch.
But now he's in the context of the ending. He's like, it's just decorative. To have a conclusion to a story is you don't need it. It's just it's nice to have, but you don't need it. This guy is just like distanced from his own thinking. It's hilarious.
I've heard complaints dismissing the ending as pseudo-intellectual, but this is a
I would say, yeah, not completely, but yeah, there's definitely some gobbledygook in there that doesn't make too much sense, which could be characterized as pseudo-intellectual on behalf of the characters. Sure.
Maybe. I'm not going to argue that.
I really don't like the term personally, but because it's so bad, there has to be some aspect of intelligence and logic that is not working.
I would say it's more rambly than pseudo-intellectual. Because again, I mean, it's kind of synonymous at that point. Yeah. But like, again, it's basically just repeating stuff that was established in previous episodes and just repeating them in a stretched out manner. And then having its ending clapping.
That shocked me.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you are no longer a complete douche. Oh, that's, I think, is that good? Wait, it's over? Oh.
Yeah.
Complaint that I find to be completely dishonest, especially if it's from a person who wants closure on the reference-heavy lore of the show.
Why?
Oh, that's his point. No, again, having the characters resolved, like Rey, Asuka, and everyone, all the other characters, they're not resolved in the anime. Again, they're resolved in the movie. Like all the character arcs in the movies are resolved.
You need to put your characters in a context for them to have a proper acceptance or resolution or rejection of whatever they were trying to learn.
Yeah,
you can't.
Oh no, go ahead.
You
Sorry.
can't just have a public couch trip with all your buddies in having a telepathic mindscape bullshit thing going on without grounding it in reality somehow. Especially when you're talking about a world where you have this setup, and then you're saying, "Oh, we're all just irrelevant because now that I can do anything in my mind, nothing matters."
Yeah.
And then Shinji comes to the realization, "Oh, if I can do anything, then I'm happy. But because of that, I have no identity. Therefore, I want an identity. Therefore, I'm rejecting this escapism."
Yes, exactly.
So you have to then show him waking up or show him getting out of the robot or whatever. You have to show that and say, "Okay, now I know where he is. It was all in his head." And
but it doesn't do that.
It doesn't do that, exactly. At the very least, it had to do something like that.
Yeah.
And then we go, "Oh, that's a shitty ending," but at least I understood what was going on. It was not it was a non-ending that made sense. This was a non-ending that was out in left field.
Yeah. Again, if it established, there's some dissonance between the narrative and in entering the inner thoughts of Shinji. If they explain what started that and then how he got out of it, it would make sense. I think that's like the crucial thing that's missing.
Yeah.
Because I think like the entire middle of like the whole inner monologue is kind of convoluted, but if they just introduced or explained how we got into the outside world, into Shinji's head or instrumentality or in some capacity, then I think it would be more believable, even if it was shit. But again, it's the disconnect. The disconnect between, oh, we're outside and Kaoru just died, and then boom, we're inside Shinji's head. But also there's instrumentality. Nothing is explained.
Yeah.
But again, we have the movie, so fuck it.
Neon Genesis Evangelion is an amazing series, but it's never claiming to be a definitive text on religion or philosophy, morality, psychology, or depression. But what it is a...
That's true. I agree. It's not, but why would it? I mean, why would any piece of work saying, "I'm going to rewrite the book on Freudian"?
Oh no, it doesn't rewrite the book. It just provides a pseudo answer, I would say. Like, it just says that the solution to self-depression is just, well, loving yourself or understanding not to hate yourself. But
he's saying that it needs to. It's not trying to do any of these things. I'm like, well, why would a story want to?
Oh, right. Okay, never mind.
It's like, why are you jumping to an extreme here? By the way, the work on Zen of the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, it's not the actual basis for how to repair your motorcycle. It's like, well, no shit. And even if it was, I doubt it would be trying to. It's just, it's a story about a guy going on a journey with his son. It's about other things, but even if it was about motorcycles specifically, it doesn't have to be like the established gold standard of maintaining motorcycles. Like, yeah, okay. No one sets out to write or create fiction like that. Unless they're like, I don't know, Greg Egan or some sort of chemist or scientist fellow who takes a break from his work and says, "I'm going to talk about string theory. I'm going to make the definitive science fiction string theory show," or whatever. Maybe. But even then, it's like, that's very obscure. So,
highly personal story that treats its characters' emotions with the dignity that they deserve, and in doing so, change
the dignity that they deserve. I really don't think I would put any of these characters in a form of dignity.
I mean, is that treating the characters with dignity? Again, the ending just repeats what the other episodes have said before. Right. It doesn't add anything new. Is that really treating the characters with dignity?
It's kind of repetitive, actually. Is
repetitiveness considered dignity? I don't think it is.
No, because especially when you've gone through something like Asuka going through depression and realizing that she's not the best girl, doing it again is just like you're just stomping on her a second time. Like, why would you do that? So dignity is not the right term. Maybe
respect?
No, same idea. No? It's
same idea, better word? I don't know.
I don't know. It's just I don't think repeating yourself is a form of respect. The only thing you do repetition of is to clarify something.
Right. or put an emphasis. But
yeah,
even
to make it important so that it relates to something later. Let's say a clue in a mystery story. It's like, this guy was not here. I can tell you for sure he's definitely not here. Like later on in the story, so that you can eliminate them from suspicion for opportunity of a crime. So it's like, great, I got that. But same characters, same problems, repeating themselves in some alien telepathic groupthink thing.
Yeah, there's no purpose. Like, that's the problem. Like again, learning about Asuka and Rei or Masato, like I would say there is purpose because it kind of relates to Shinji's inability to accept reality and love himself. And it's the core theme that relates all the characters, but it doesn't help or leads Shinji to do anything else. It's just padding. There's no way around it.
It is one of the best examples of fluff.
Yeah,
I can see.
And again, like Ono agrees. Like Ono said that he regretted writing. Like actually, when he said that when he was writing, I can't remember the interview. He said that when he was writing it, he was like, "Oh yes, I consider myself a genius. This is great and everything." And then he was rewatching it and he was like, "Oh my god, this is fucking terrible." And then he excused himself to the staff and he's like, "I'm so sorry." But again, it's all good because they got a fucking movie out of it.
Well, let's just remember that the movie has a gigantic massive-sized Rei clone who then...
Yeah, which is why it's great.
who then melts down into giant chunks.
Yeah, Rei kills all of humanity.
Ooh,
great.
Love this ending. Yahoo!
Better than the fucking monologue.
I will admit, that is true. As creepy and weird as that sounds.
Anime forever. In Japan, but also the rest of the world, depression's deeply stigmatized still. Confronting it head on like this is brave. It's inspiring for us.
Oh, our political hero can do no wrong. He's so brave. He's so brilliant.
Is depression really stigmatized like that? I don't think so.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe things like sexuality is, but not depression, no.
Yeah, but he said depression is stigmatized. I'm like,
again,
no?
He can do no wrong. He's such a hero. He's so brave. He's taking on this subject, and he's just putting himself in his work, and then he's making an ending about self-introspection in this weird scenario that doesn't make any sense. And there was some story about robots or something, but that doesn't matter because it's just the lore. It's plots.
But the lore's important. But the lore's important somehow.
Yeah, but not really. But kind of is, but not really. You know what I mean?
Objectively.
We're not having a mental breakdown over this guy. We're good. Okay, we're almost done.
Jesus Christ. I am having a breakdown.
Oh no, we're good. We're totally fine. This is normal.
We're almost there. We're almost at the end.
That you're not satisfied and that you do need total closure regarding the angels, Nerve, and Zila. Well, there's always the end.
Zila.
Wait, Zila? Did he repeat that he wanted closure like a minute ago or something?
Yeah, I think he's repeating it, so let's just see.
Still, confronting it head on like this is brave. It's inspiring for a series. And let's say that you're not satisfied and that you do need total closure regarding the angels, Nerve, and Zila. Well, there's always the end of Evangelion movie.
Okay, this is
no
the problem.
Shit. That's the point. That's the problem. You fucking...
He's saying this ending's perfect, but don't worry, there's another story which is just like this. Honestly, if you actually watch the movie, it's a rehash of, I don't know how many episodes, and then the last half hour is where they actually do new content, right? Essentially.
But you mean the movie?
Yeah, the two movies.
No, it's like more. It's like the continuation of where they left off before the whole monologue.
Oh, really? I thought they rehashed the show first, and then they...
No. That's like completely new. It's like Kaoru dies, and then it's like then they get invaded and shit, and then there's a big mecha fight, and then Shinji gets to experience a fucking huge giant Rei, and then saves the fucking world by accepting that reality is better than fantasy, and. The entire thing it's not a rehash. It's like it's an entire movie. Again, that's why the movie is better than the fucking 2 episodes because it's better in every fucking possible context except for like the ending where Shinji says like I have to love myself because that's not in the movie. That's the only good difference. But whatever.
And this is the 97, I think, the 97 movies.
Yeah, 97 movie.
Not the 2004.
No, not the
5.
rebuilds.
Yeah, whatever.
No, not the rebuilds. The rebuilds are kind of meta narratives, criticism of the fans that are kind of how can I say it? They're copies of the original, but not really. Like recently, I was rewatching the one rebuild 1.0, and I just realized that like half 3/4 is like a copy of the original like 5 episodes, but there's some elements that are different that are meant to be like criticisms of the fans, and it's so like it's unrelated to the story itself.
Interesting. I haven't actually had the time to watch those. I got really annoyed that they redid Brotherhood or Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh yeah, Brotherhood is kind of terrible. I don't know if you like it, but oh god,
it's the same. It's the same feeling. It's like, do I really want to watch the whole series over?
Yeah,
again?
like okay, the rebuilds are basically they're not the same like at all. Like it's a bait and switch basically. Like you think that they're going to be remakes, like literally one for shot for shot, and they kind of are at the beginning, except for certain scenes. And then the second movie, it's like, surprise, motherfucker! It's full of fan service, like out the wazoo. It's a blatant slap to the face to the audience and telling you, no, you're fucking shit, and fuck you for enjoying fan service. Like, you know that scene where there's in the final 2 episodes where they're like the school setting where it's like a fantasy.
Right.
Imagine that, but like for an entire movie, but full of cliche anime. Like in one part, like it's full of anime. Like if you've watched enough anime, oh yeah, this is typical anime. Like to a cliche degree, like everything about that,
which is very strange, because when I thought about Hideki Anno, what he wanted to do was just sort of subvert these ideas of mecha anime and school anime, but at the end of every episode they have that little stinger where it's like, oh, we're gonna have some fan service next time. It's like, what? Seriously? Yeah. Was that a joke?
Yeah, it's a joke. It's like poking fun at the audience. Like, motherfuckers, you're gonna get your fan service, but fuck you.
But they get it. They actually, it's like, okay, but
oh yeah, they serve the audience what they want. It's like giving the middle finger, but also serving the fans at the same time.
See, that's a good thing to me, because it gives them what they paid for, but also in a different way. Like that's what you do when you do subversion. Subversion is not, here's the thing you wanted. Oh no, you didn't. I'm going to give you something totally different. It's here's the thing you wanted in a different light.
Yeah, and the worst part is that the fans hate it, like actual fans hate it, but the people that are not actual fans, they love it. So like it works on both ways. The people that get it hate it in the proper way they're supposed to hate it, and the fans that don't get it, they still love it either way. So it's like a win-win either way. It's genius. But everyone hates it, so no one understands it because everyone hates it or they love it. It's true curse.
Okay, fun times.
Which is a whole other can of worms to unpack. But in the years since the airing of the original series, and because of what Hideki Anno and Neon Genesis Evangelion dared to do, it's changed the way that we look at the stories that we tell, and has changed what anime can actually be.
Yeah, don't tell stories this way. This is the example of not how to end a series, okay?
Nope.
And then have all your fans complain so that you have to release more stories to fix them, kind of like what happened with Mass Effect. This is probably the granddaddy of the apologizing to your fans for writing an incomplete story, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, at least they made a movie. Mass Effect just went like, fuck the entire galaxy. We're gonna fuck off somewhere else. It's like, imagine if Anno just created a new anime. It would have been just as that bad. I mean, he did with the movies, I guess, but
it depends. It depends how you compare the two, but it's where the fans got pissed off, and the feedback made them react, and that's, to me, that's interesting, because that means they actually care enough to say, or to at least accept the fact that not everyone liked their stuff, or the message was misconstrued in some fashion. And that's for him to say to his executives, hey, I got to fix this. And they're like, okay, go do that. Because then they have to see dollar signs somewhere. So they make movies, they can sell those movies. With the effect of Mass Effect or whatever the extended cut was, it was free. Yeah. So Yeah, I guess there are some similarities, but this is really the granddaddy that
Yeah.
we see a very popular piece of fiction that was improperly finished and then given a second run or a third run, or would you call the rebuild series a fourth run? Like what would you call that?
It's like a pseudo sequel, but not really. It's hard. I don't even think there's a definition for it.
I got a super chat. I'm sorry. STLJ Screwjob. With Brotherhood, when I heard a female voice come out of I's mouth 5 minutes into... Oh, Al's mouth, sorry. Al's mouth. I was thinking of the title. Into the first episode, my immersion was shattered. Really? Okay. I never watched it, so I don't know, but I do know there's a lot of disconnect between the manga.
Is it the sub? I don't... Like, I haven't watched it with the sub. I watched it with the dub because... The dub, I guess. I don't know. When did that happen?
When I first heard of it, I was like, why is there another series? And then I was told it was basically a retelling of the tale, and was like, well, why would I want to watch that? And then people say, well, Brotherhood's actually better. And I was like, really?
Not really. Like, the problem with Brotherhood, in my opinion, is that I would even argue that it's worse than the original, because the original actually adapts to a certain point the anime, the manga, but then it cuts off and becomes its own original anime. Original anime. But then the Brotherhood basically assumes that, oh, you've basically watched the original anime, so we're just gonna skip forward a bunch of chapters, and then it just like becomes a jumbled mess, and then it tries to adapt what was not adapted, but what was adapted was not really that good overall. So you have like a jumbled mess of, well, mediocrity, I would say, but better adapted. So like the problem is that the original anime, the first Evangelion, the first Full Metal Alchemist is better as a standalone, whereas the adaptation is kind of mediocre, I would say. Even though it has better production value, it's weird.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, oh, it looks good, but I'm like, that's not a reason for me to watch a series or a story I already know. So
yeah, exactly.
Which is my same opinion with the rebuild. I saw there's a new character. Yeah. I was like, why is there a fifth child? Why is this happening?
Yes. Yeah, but again, with the rebuilds, it's basically like it's a sequel. It's not a retelling. It's a fake it's a bait and switch retelling. It tries to say that, oh yeah, we're going to retell the Evangelion, but then we're not. It's hilarious. And the worst part is that like the first one is like a direct retelling, but it's not. It's funny. It's genius. God damn it.
How much money do they make? More toys, more waifus, more body pillows.
Yeah, and the Turn movie is great because it's like directly telling the audience, you fucked up the entire fucking franchise. This is what's left of the franchise. And that movie made like the most money it ever made.
Really?
It's hilarious. Either no one got it, or people just kept watching the movie nonstop to understand it. I don't understand it. It's like nothing makes sense. Evangelion just makes no fucking sense with its fans. It just keeps shitting on its fans, and the fans just keep buying more. It keeps telling its audience just stop embracing escapism, and they're like, no, fuck you. We're just gonna make more anime, and we're gonna love Evangelion more. And what are you gonna do about it? Then they just go like keep telling the audience to stop it, but they keep coming back,
which is hilarious because again, this is the exact opposite of the message that Anno is trying to tell people. Was like stop watching, stop being obsessed, stop going inside your mind, get out of the house, go do stuff.
Yeah. But instead, they just keep doing that. It's terrible.
All right, we have 17 seconds left. Let's see what we can do.
Oh God!
And I think that's something to celebrate.
Well, fuck you too.
That was enough of Dorkly. And he contradicted himself at least 5 times. He was a super fan, no doubt. And again, there's nothing wrong with being a fan of a series, but just this was just the ending of the last 2 episodes, which was what people call a non-ending or a mind screw ending, or famously as the trope calls the Gainax ending. And I don't know if Gainax kept doing that with their shows. I don't think so.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember Gunbuster and all those other older ones that were
Gunbuster. No, Gunbuster had a good ending. Like it had a conclusive conclusive. Yeah, I can't speak.
Conclusive.
Conclusive. Thank you. Holy Christ, I want to die. Sorry.
I'm trying to remember other ones. If there's like Big O, I think that was a noir style.
Was Big O made by Gainax?
I don't remember.
Because the second season was fucking trash, but I don't think it was made by Gainax. Let me check. Big O. Was it made by Gainax?
Oh, it was maybe Sunrise, maybe?
I think it was Sunrise. It was by Adult Swim. That doesn't tell me shit.
That was a very stylish anime, also with mecha.
Yeah.
And it had noir themes.
No, you're right. It is Sunrise.
Oh, okay. I only remember that because of, at the time,
Bandai.
Viz Media. This was like while you're watching the last few episodes of Cowboy Bebop, this came out.
Yeah.
So it was like, cool, noir-ish with mecha. Whoa. So it was always one of those things. That's where I sort of got into anime, the late 90s. And after Cowboy Bebop, I was like, okay, there's really not too much that catches my eye. Obviously, there's been a lot more other animes out there I've watched over the years. Mm-hmm. But it was always great to talk to people who are fans, especially our no-name fellow here, who definitely knows a lot more about anime than I do.
Nah. I mean, yeah, I do, but
yeah, you do.
I'm being too humble here. Oh god.
Like, what would you recommend if people who liked shows this? What would be like a good
Evangelion or
Evangelion? That's a fine example.
I have no clue. Maybe
you mentioned Razafon.
Yeah, I wouldn't even recommend Razafon. It's kind of not that good overall. I was just saying that it's like there's a lot of similarities between it and Evangelion. What would I recommend? I don't know, Yamato maybe. Oh, question for you: have you ever, since you're Canadian, have you ever heard of the show Harlock or Albator by any chance?
Is it French Canadian or just Canadian?
It's French Canadian maybe, or Harlock. By any chance?
Was it produced recently or?
No, 1978. But it was very. Yeah, I know, but it's very popular in Quebec, so that's why I was just curious if it was known outside of. I mean, it's popular in France and in Quebec. That's why I was just curious if you knew about it.
Jeez, that's beyond my time. Yeah, that's.
But it's still popular today, so that's why I'm still. Oh yeah, it's like it's a French icon. That's why. Also Quebec, I guess so.
I'd have to check that out, man. That's cool. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, Gurren Lagann, I guess maybe.
That would be.
Different. Mecha. I mean, Gurren Lagann, Utena. I'm trying to think of. I can't. I'm bad at recommendation because I cannot remember. Like right now, I'm trying to think of anime and I can't think of a single name. I have a horrible memory. I can't think of anything.
Like even ones that I watched. The most recent I think was Kado, The Right Answer, which was weird. Aliens. I mentioned Nadesico just because. Mm-hmm. It seems like the closest one. I would not watch. If we're talking about themes, I would not watch. What's it called? Serial Experiments Lane.
Well, Lane is more atmospheric than thematic. I mean, I disagree.
Well, that's what I mean. Like the feeling you get is one of emptiness and depression and sort of. Which is kind of similar, I guess, to Evangelion.
Right. I mean, probably Technolize is more depressive in that sense. So
right.
That I would recommend, I guess. Kill la Kill. No, Kill la Kill. Shit.
No, I would not. I would not recommend that.
I wouldn't. Yeah, Kill la Kill's overrated. Code Geass. No, not Code Geass.
In relation to Evangelion, no, that is really different.
I mean, there's mechas.
There are mechas. That is true. I guess anything Gundam, but that's totally different.
Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I mean, that's more historical than.
People recommended that to me actually a lot over the years. I was like, "What the hell is that?" It's a very old series, apparently.
It's very good. It's like 110 episode OVA, where it's basically a historical retelling or documentary of. Well, Space Napoleon, I guess.
Wow.
It's really good, though. Plot-wise, it's kind of all right. But one of the greatest aspects of Legend of the Galactic Heroes is that every line is quotable. and it's really good. It's like very well written. I mean, plot wise, it's not really that well written overall, but the with the character interactions, not the character interaction, the dialogue. There you go. I couldn't remember the dialogue. The dialogue is very good. Like every line is quotable. It's like amazingly quotable, ridiculously good. And like just for that, it's worth watching. But yeah, it's good. It's like considered one of the best anime for a reason. Wow. I don't know. I don't know if it's that good. It is really good. It's just again for the dialogue itself, it's really good. But yeah, it's based on a novel. But
okay, the only thing I recommend instead of watching.
Oh yeah, Paranoid Agent's good.
Oh, Paranoid Agent is.
Paranoid Agent. It's great.
My favorite's always been Monster, but that's like totally different.
Oh yes, Monster. Monster's fucking amazing. I don't know why I didn't remember that.
Yeah, when I think of anime, I think of Cowboy Bebop and Monster. But
yes, Monster's absolutely. Everyone should watch Monster. It's one of the greatest anime of all time with Eva. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Everyone should watch Monster. It's great.
But as I said before, instead of watching Eva, watch FLCL or Furikuri.
Yeah, Furikuri is great.
That's just fun. It's just a fun, cute.
Yes, it is great. It's absolutely great. I agree. It's amazing.
I know. It's one of those things. Like, why did I just watch? Like, because you watch Eva and it takes so long. It's depressing. It's slow. Like with pacing with Eva, it starts off really well and just slowly grinds to a halt. I think
that's kind of the point. Like you're mentally. The plot drags with the characters that are mentally become broken, but I'm not even gonna argue that. Like I don't even love Ava that much. I like it, but it's kind of even though I made a fucking video about it.
Which is what we're trying to say. It's not a seminal work. It is a benchmark that we compare after Eva. That's when anime starts to get serious. It starts to get a little deeper, as opposed to just being.
I mean, it starts to get deeper, and then it becomes more about idealization and moe, and cute.
Oh, geez, that's
and then it becomes.
I don't know if we could look at the influence of Eva to that specifically.
Oh yeah, you can. You
can.
Unironically, oh yeah, like Ray specifically. Like I don't know if you've watched my video on Eva, because I just released like an Evangelion video about it that just explains like literally that Ano basically said to everyone just. Rely on reality and don't embrace escapism. And then all of anime just went, although I agree with you that we should focus on reality, escapism is really cool. And Ray, we should copy more of Ray and make a ton of Ray and moe and escapism.
Well, that was the funny thing in the show. It's like everyone looks normal. And then you have Ray, this blue-haired, red-eyed girl. It's like, isn't that kind of creepy and weird?
Yeah, that's the point. She was made to be creepy, but everyone loved her for no fucking reason. Like, it's the stupidest thing ever. Like, no one can explain it. Like, a scholar basically explained that the reason why everyone loved Ray is because she's basically nothing. And
what?
It makes no fucking sense. Like, the thing is that Japan was facing their own sense of anxiety. Because the bubble burst, and because there was a large economic bubble burst near the mid 90s. I can't remember what happened then. Okay. And because of that, society was basically crashing down, and everyone just became neats. And because of that, everyone just clung to Ray and just created their own fantasy version of her. And because of that, society just regressed into creating idealization of fantasy forms of characters, specifically Ray. And that's kind of the reason why moe, or like cute girls doing cute things and whatever, and whatnot, kind of became the focus of anime. Evangelion didn't really create that, but it became the catalyst of that.
Wow.
So so basically everything that people might hate about anime, like the cute girls and whatnot, some people love that. That's fine. I'm not saying that you should hate that, but Evangelion is primarily one of the catalysts, or the biggest catalyst for creating that.
Blue hair. It's all started with blue hair, man.
Yeah, it's again, like that's the problem. Like I said before the beginning of the stream, it's the Alan Moore impact. Like without a doubt, Ano basically fucked the entirety of Japan and he didn't even do it on purpose. Like Ray was made to be creepy and made to be something that otakus would not love, and instead they loved her in droves. Like it's actually the meta narrative of rebuilds. Like the entirety of the rebuilds is just making the audience fall in love with Ray and then telling them, you fuck the entirety of the world by loving this fictional character, you fucking idiot. It's hilarious, and no one understood that.
The reference that No Name just mentioned was about Alan Moore. Alan Moore is very famous for writing Swamp Thing, Magnificent Watchmen was his best work. Yeah, so he did all these great works, but he was also extremely against the people who would read these comics, like the adult male who like what are men doing reading superhero comics? So he was very against that. So all it did was like make people like the whole genre, the whole culture even more.
Yeah.
So
like the worst thing is that Alan Moore tried to make it like people were trying to argue, oh, what would it look like if characters were edgy, because it was starting to have that trend with Frank Miller and him. And then Watchmen was basically arguing that it would look like shit. All the characters would be shit. All the characters would be flawed. They would just be broken characters, and no one would look up to them as real heroes. Instead, people went, I like the edginess, but instead of having like actual good writing that complements the edginess, what if we just have a bunch of edgy shit and macho bullshit? And that's like in the West we call that the Alan Moore effect, where you intend to do something and it just backfires on you completely and ruins your entire genre. Like
this was also during the 90s we had this thing called Image Comics, which is where Spawn came from.
Exactly.
And if you look at the writing quality, it's just not there. It's just ridiculous. But the images looks fantastic. They had foil covers. They had all these different covers of the same variant. And that's where you started seeing this massive insurgence of comic sales away from Marvel and DC and buying like versions of the same comic, like Spawn #1, Spawn #10, with like $10. Like you're buying one comic for $10 just because it had a foil cover. And they would treat it like a stock. They would treat it like this thing they're going to put in their basement, never touch, and then 10 years later they'll sell it.
But who's going to buy that? That's dumb.
I'd have to check out I don't know if Wizard is still a thing, but the Wizard big thick book would have all the list of the prices of all comics over the years. And I would always check to see what Superman #1 was at and what Batman Detective Comics.
But those are the really old comics. I mean, like. Can't do that with like 90s comic that no one's gonna buy.
Well, it was kind of funny because I remember buying video games like Chrono Trigger, Suikoden 2, and now they're like $150. It's hard to find. They're no longer distributed. These are products and games or any sorts of stories that are just hard to find, and there's like a cult following. That's why I look at Evangelion, I say, it's mainstream, but it's mostly just a cult appreciation. Like there's a cult following behind it. Whereas the mainstream are like, oh yeah, Ghost in the Shell, I watched that. I'll watch Akira. And you might get the, I'm trying to remember the next movie that's coming out. I think it's this year or next year by
Alita?
Battle Angel Alita. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is actually, I mean, I'd go see it. I don't know.
I'll wait until the reviews come in because I'm 50-50 on it.
Well, I went to go see Ghost in the Shell when it came out, the live action. Boy. Which just
how bad is it?
You know what? It wasn't as bad as I thought, but that's because I walked in with no expectations.
Oh, okay. I mean, did you watch the original anime?
Oh yeah,
movie and okay.
I watched all the miniseries and
good.
The manga. I read. Oh, the manga is really different. So
yeah. Oh yeah, it is.
So. I was like, okay, it's its own thing. I'm going to treat it as its own thing. And as a movie, it was visually beautiful. Like, how Innocence was visually amazing, but just weird and nonsensical to the point? I would say the live action Ghost in the Shell was just visually stunning and just had enough story to carry it along, but nothing to write home about. Nothing to be like, oh, this is worth seeing.
Okay, so it's not that bad. Okay.
It's not that bad. Like the scenes where she's running up the wall and she's supposed to be naked, it's like, well, okay, maybe robots don't need nipples. Maybe robots don't really need all the full anatomy. Okay, fine. I could buy that. Her skin is translucent or whatever. That's totally, I get that. So there were obviously some things they changed, which I was like, oh, why not? Because one of those great scenes from Ghost in the Shell when she jumps off, she takes her clothes off, she jumps off the building. You're like, oh my God, that's crazy. That was a really memorable moment. Yeah. And they obviously altered stuff like that. They had the shot scene sort of in the rain where she's fighting, chasing that guy, sort of. It's like, it's the same. Like they had the same, if you look at the frame by frame comparison, they had the same shots, the same angles, the same architecture. So I thought that was really well. Yeah, there's lots of homages to the movie. So I enjoyed that. But it's like just not as good. It's like, wow, that looked great. But my memory kicks in. He's like, oh no, it was really cool back then. When she has that roundhouse kick and the guy flies through the water and splashes in the fountain. It's like, it shows off her translucent. I was like, it's cool. So they didn't do the same thing, but still entertaining. You go to the movie, see a good entertaining time. Yeah.
Cool. I might check it out. That's
Yeah, just don't go in there with too. That's what you never do. Never go in there with these expectations like it's going to be the best thing.
Oh no! I was just like, the thing is that I was expecting it to be like absolute dog shit because everyone I've talked to about it says like don't watch it, don't even acknowledge its existence. It's just shit. Just ignore it. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'll just not care about it.
That's what you do with like watching Star Trek Discovery or something, right? Because we know why you watch Star Trek, and Star Trek Discovery is a rejection of Star Trek. It's something else, right?
Yeah.
This is still Ghost in the Shell. It's just very different telling and slightly changed. Like obviously you'll be like, well, this is not the same. The side character is not the same. He's totally like different than this. It's like, I get that, but they had to make it believable. They had to make it realistic within the world of people with makeup and prosthetics and whatever. Like Bato cannot be this hulking bruiser of a man.
Yeah, of course.
But they can give him dogs. They can make him, human or whatever. They can do those elements. So the same ideas are there. They're just expressed in different ways. So, which is just enough for me to get in the door. So, okay. Sweet. I think we've rambled on enough. I think we totally dissected this gentleman's appreciation of the ending of with the non-ending of Eva.
Oh God. I hope it leaves my brain.
It was, it just reaffirms why we like the series and why there are things, why the flaws in the series exist and why the highlights of the series exist. In no way is Eva a bad series. And in no way is it like the height of 90s anime or even mecha anime.
I mean, I would say it's one of the heights, but
it is up
I don't know if
it's up there.
Yeah, it is up there.
I would not to me. Vision of Escaflowne was just in terms of drama.
Oh yes.
In terms of music,
it's great. I love it. Oh my God. Like other than maybe the ending. Okay. Oh, there you go. And you were asking for an ending.
You're right. That's right.
Escaflowne actually has like a rushed ending, which like I don't know if you know about this, but apparently it was supposed to get a second season, and then apparently at the last second, like 5 episodes before they were confirmed to get a second season, they were told no, you have to rush. You have to like finish it right now, and they were like fuck, and that's why like the ending it's rushed to shit.
It is
it's sad. It's great because all the build up before it is perfect. It's amazing, but then it rushes everything at the end, and I still love it. So
the movie is another weirder interpretation. Not the same, but
no, it's not.
But because it's using Yoko Kanno. And
the music is still great, but
as soon as Cowboy Bebop came out, you're like, who is that musician? Yoko Kanno. Everything she's done. Someone just mentioned Wolf's Rain. Yoko Kanno.
Yeah, Wolf's Rain. Yeah,
everything with Yoko Kanno you have to watch just for the music alone.
Yeah, she makes great music though. But I think like Escaflowne is her best.
Yes,
because I think she did it with her husband, if I remember correctly, and that's why like it's like two musicians that are very good together. Just everything's good about it. It's like
every piece of music.
Oh God!
The concept of the plot, what ends up happening, the rivalry with the brother, it's just there's opera, there's just mecha, there's just
I know. It's perfect. It's so except for the ending.
Except for the ending, exactly.
God damn it!
One of those stories where the ending is rushed and you know it's rushed.
Yes,
it's like why didn't she stay? Why did this happen? You don't know, and they just
because they couldn't get a second season. I don't know why, but it would have been great. It would have been great, but.
So there we go. Go watch Vision of Escaflowne.
Yeah.
Eva 2, but not the last 2 episodes.
I mean, no, you should still watch it and then watch the anime and then pretend it makes sense somewhere. Oh well, whatever.
We'll just go cleanse our palate by watching. I don't know. Pick a Gurren Lagann. Like, there we go. That's one way to cleanse your palate. Of anything, really, anything that making you sad or depressed, just watch Gurren Lagann. You'll feel better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, guys. Anything else? If I can answer your questions, Hajime no Ippo. I don't know what that is.
Oh yeah, Ippo's great. I think it's a little repetitive because it follows this shonen trend, shonen cycle. Like one of my main flaws of Hajime no Ippo is that basically. Ippo basically fights off more and more stronger characters, but he still has the same body. Like, how do you know that he's progressing? Oh. And it's always the same. And it's always the same structure. Not same structure. It's always the same. Where Ippo's fighting this stronger character, he gets beat up, but then he gets the upper hand. But no, the main villain, the main antagonist or whatever character he's fighting now, also gets the upper hand, and then he's almost wins, and then they're like barely. You can't tell who's going to win, and then Ippo wins by the skin of his teeth. It's always the exact same thing, to a degree.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe this is just my fucking random rambling for Ippo, but it's great. Watch Ippo. It's like one of the most pumped anime you can watch.
Wow.
It's great. Have you watched it?
I don't know what thing you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, Jesus Christ. I thought you knew what it was. Sorry. Hajime no Ippo is basically the story of a boxer. The story of boxing. It's a kid that gets bullied at school, and then some boxer comes to him and he's like, "Hey, do you want to learn some boxing? You can learn boxing and get better." And then he starts to improve himself, and then he starts to feel better about himself. It's like, and then he keeps boxing until he becomes like the boxing champion of Japan, and it's really uplifting because he actually becomes stronger as time goes on. But again, it's like shonen, so it gets repetitive in a bit, but it's still like really great.
Okay, guys, I think that's we can go on for hours talking about anime.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
Oh my god,
and we've made some recommendations, and yeah, we're gonna keep looking at really weird fanboy. Musings as they make them on YouTube every Saturday on Smudstream. Make any recommendations, go right ahead in the comments. As well, I'm going to put a link to No Name's channel. He's got some excellent stuff about anime as well as the Kreia videos. That's where I know him from.
Yeah.
And I'm doing...
Oh, also, you should check out my monster video. I don't know if you know about it.
No, I don't.
Oh, I made a video about Monster. I don't like the audio quality, but I made a video explaining the ending of Monster because a lot of people were complaining about Monster, and I kind of explained like the entirety of the plot and explaining Johan, psychoanalyzing him to a degree. You might like that because you said you liked Monster.
Monster is right up there. I mean, that is...
Oh man, then you're gonna love it because it's the best analysis on Monster, and it explains basically the entirety of the story.
I think the ending was clear to me. I don't know.
Oh no, the ending is clear. It's just that idiots don't understand it, and I just have to explain everything in the anime.
I know the feeling.
Like all my videos are basically that. Just people don't understand this, and I'm like, fuck it. I have to explain this shit, and I have to make a fucking like my Kreia video. Like no one understood Kreia, so I had to be the one who had to make a fucking.
I know. When I saw that, I was like, oh, this guy gets it. This is like there's so much with Kreia. I don't know how you can miss it. Like she's always every mission, she's always talking. It's like, oh.
But like the weirdest thing is that before my video, there was like nothing on Kreia on the internet, which like still boggles me, my mind. Like if you like try to Google or try to find any information about Kreia, you find like a couple of blog posts that just quote her quotes, and that's it. Like there's no one talking about Kreia, which I don't understand it.
Kreia is the number one female in video games.
Yeah,
like,
but no one talks about her,
bar none.
Yeah, bar none. Even what's her name? Feminist Frequency. What's her name?
Oh God, Anita Sarkeesian.
Yes, Anita Sarkeesian. She quoted her. She quoted her as one of the best in gaming. But where's her fucking analysis video about
You're
Kreia?
serious? She said that?
Yeah, she did. I can't remember where. She said like Kreia is like a great representation of female power in gaming or some bullshit.
But, really?
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah, I know. But like, where's her fucking analysis of Kreia, huh? It's like, why does she mention her as one of the representation of the greats, but doesn't say anything?
Jeez.
I don't know. It really boggles me. But
yeah, if anyone
whatever.
wants to see Star Wars come back, KOTOR is the route to do so. Whether that needs Chris Avallone to do it, I don't know. But just look at KOTOR. Forget the Old Republic, like the current MMO.
Yeah, fuck the MMO. Just ignore that. Oh my god, the MMO ruins Star Wars completely.
Well, it's not the worst thing to happen to Star Wars.
I would say that's even worse than The Last Jedi. Like,
really? Wow.
Yeah, like The Last Jedi ruins the character, but still preserves like how the Force works.
I gotta get Exlatalis with you.
The MMO just ruins all of Star Wars. Like,
oh my god!
It's like Jesus Christ. Like,
well, I gotta get you and Exlatalis on one day, and we're gonna talk about the old. He's a big Old Republic. He has all kinds of videos on it. And
sweet.
He is he does I think he does daily up. He tells me he does daily uploads.
Oh really? Can you send me a link?
Exlatalis.
I would love to watch that.
Oh yeah, he all the new DLC came out I think last month. So he's been going through all the variations, all the new characters, and so I'd love to hear you guys talk about that. So anyway, guys, cool. I think I've taken up. We're just rambling now from ourselves.
Yeah, we are.
So thanks for that. I'll leave a link to No Name's channel in the description, and we will see you next week.
Great. Oh man. This was great.